One more principle of Chabad's activity is visible. Everything they do, they attribute to people who have absolutely nothing to do with it, and so they dump their responsibility on these innocent citizens. That is, a typical manifestation of chutzpah is flourishing in Russia, dumping on ordinary citizens what was done by Chabad members. And this happens through the adoption of laws. For example, the country is being shaken with terrorist attacks. The FSB and the investigative committee traditionally cannot find the organizers. It's ordinary citizens who are often accused of terrorism. Svetlana Prokopieva, a journalist from Pskov city, was accused of justifying terrorism, although in her article she only analyzed the reasons for a terroristic attack. Chabad lives quietly, guided by the Tanya, recognized as extremist literature by professionals. However, the state turns a blind eye to the fact. At the same time, ordinary citizens are accused of extremism for simple likes in internet or folk patterns. Thus, civil activist Anna Dmitrieva was accused of promoting fascism for a photo of a Russian national costume. Chabad, a typical sect, rules Russia from behind the screen of politicians. At the same time, common public figures are accused of sectarianism. Zhanna Tsarigradskaya, the founder of the Rozhana Center for Perinatal Education and Breastfeeding Support, who had worked very successfully for almost 25 years and helped young mothers, was accused of sectarianism. Wherever the word sectarian is used, either the Russian Orthodox Church or the Ministry of Justice or someone else commits a crime. Today, the word sectarian is used solely to neutralize or destroy useful people in society, those who mean something. This is the main goal, to discredit, to reduce authority, so that people would not contact them. All the lies that have been poured on us are still circulating on the internet. And Svetlana Lada-Rus was in exactly the same situation. The more publicity, the less possibilities they have to crush the organization. If people hear that someone is called a sectarian, then it is necessary to find out who pronounces this word in relation to another person and write a statement against him, because the stigma sectarian is a weapon to destroy useful public initiative. US citizen Alexander Dvorkin is clearly involved in this Chabad scheme to eliminate free thinking. He coined the term sect studies and founded the Center for Religious Studies in the name of Hieromater Irenaeus of Lyons in Russia on the problems of religious movements, sects and cults. This center draws false conclusions to discredit and shut down useful societies and organizations, declaring them to be sects. This is a typical example of cynical lie, dumping their guilt on honest citizens, Chabad chutzpah. After all, Dvorkin is a sectarian himself. During his stay in the US, he participated in the CAN activities. CAN is Cult Awareness Network organization, which was engaged in abduction and forced reprogramming of people.
Jench accuses CAN of kidnapping people out of cults and then trying to deprogram them. Defenders of the practice call these rescues, which are perfectly legal when they involve youngsters under 18.
Members of the organization were convicted. They paid huge fines. Dvorkin received US citizenship. Therefore, he swore to support and defend the constitution and laws, to faithfully serve the US. In the USSR, Dvorkin was registered in a psychiatric dispensary with a diagnosis of cyclothymia, a form of manic depressive psychosis. According to the expertise of the Serbsky Psychiatric Center, complete cure of the disease is impossible. The disease makes the patient unsuitable for scientific, social and political activities, since he cannot adequately evaluate his actions. At the same time, Alexander Dvorkin is chairman of the Expert Council for Religious Studies Expertise under the Ministry of Justice of the Russian Federation. It turns out that such people now rule public opinion and have legally significant positions in our country. Why was the law on foreign agency adopted? Probably Again, to cover up the Chabad foreign agency, human rights defenders and whistleblowers are recorded as foreign agents. Thus, the artist Sergei Yolkin, who drew political cartoons, the Tomsk public organization Women's Voice, which was engaged in the protection of women's rights, were recognized as foreign agents. Recently, the well-known human rights activist Svetlana Lada-Rus was declared a foreign agent. Rus was recognized as the people's leader. Lada-Rus is a well-known whistleblower. She filed legally substantiated applications to the investigative committee and the FSB demanding to check the activities of Putin, Medvedev, Serdyukov for treason, sabotage, involvement in organizing terrorist attacks. Statement to revealing documentaries through the apocalypse of a people's non-Kremlin party, which in the midst of elections to the State Duma was banned under the pretext of extremism. The party ran for State Duma elections with a list of 278 people and had every chance of success. The Supreme Court of participated in elections at various levels, including the presidential elections in Russia in 2012. This new government, which came after Yeltsin's coup, hooked Russia on a Western needle. We have become a colony. Most importantly, we are controlled by the CIA. This follows from data available and logical conclusions. Indeed, Yeltsin came specifically through a color revolution, the same as it was in Kiev on the Maidan in 2014. In 1993, we had the same Maidan in Moscow, with all the same signs, including consultation of Western politicians. It is not hidden that representatives of Western politicians, the CIA officers, were privatizing Russian property, that is, they took away property from the people. The US writes laws for us after the 1993 Moscow coup. The laws are to make us a colony, to take away everything from us, to acquire everything for themselves. They accused Lada-Rus of sectarianism and fraud because of her political activity. They fabricate criminal cases against her and her associates. Now they have registered Lada-Rus as a foreign agent, obviously aiming to prevent her from running for 2024 presidential election. It turns out that everything has been turned upside down. One gets the impression that Russian special services, Russian Ministry of Justice, are governed from abroad, following foreign manuals. Therefore, official bodies of Russia are foreign agents. The activities of many public leaders are simply prohibited. In this way, all democratic principles are grossly violated. All the democratic rights of citizens are being eaten up by this inventive law. But the persecution is most often subjected not to real foreign agents, but to those who expose them. So it was with Roman Yushkov, the Perm human rights activist, writer, associate professor of Perm University. He has repeatedly demanded to ban Chabad's activities and recognize it as a foreign agent. What do we have as a result? Yushkov himself was squeezed out of the university, deprived of the opportunity to engage in journalistic activities. His human rights center, which helped people for free, was recognized as a foreign agent. Roman was left without a livelihood and inundated with numerous litigations. In essence, it is the rabbis of Chabad, who are typical foreign agents. They come to Russia from New York or Israel, speak Russian poorly, and often have several citizenship. Alina Lushavina. On foreign agencies, Chabad members cannot be prosecuted because they are allegedly a religious organization, although we can see that they are primarily engaged in political activities. A criminal article for allegedly insulting the feelings of believers, for alleged extremism and inciting hatred can punish any criticism of a Chabad member, as well as political authorities. That is, when we suggest to recognize Chabad people as foreign agents because they are foreign agents, we are answered, no, you incite discord, you are anti-Semites. Attempts to recognize Tanya as extremist literature, Nazi, racist, rest on the fact that it is allegedly a cultural monument, that it was written in an incomprehensive century, and in connection with new trends regarding fakes and discrediting. They simply began to block us on the internet when we say that Chabad members are involved in the organization of the special military operation, that they are foreign agents, that Chabad member Kolomoisky is sponsoring Zelensky. When we saw that they are connected and jointly involved in inciting discord, they say that we are discrediting the army. Well, we protect our army. We protect our people. Or maybe the fact is that the entire ruling elite, including mayors and governors, is subordinate to this sect? Does it mean the Chabad sect rules the country? Beryl Lazar wrote in his book Jewish Russia as follows: Now in Russia,
руководители областей и министры правительства евреи. Это стало нормой.
sources information, Jews and obviously Chabad sect members are Dmitry Medvedev, former Prime Minister, Mikhail Mishustin, Prime Minister, Vyacheslav Volodin, Chairman of the State Duma, Sergei Kiriyenko, First Deputy Head of the Presidential Administration, Anton Siluanov, Minister of Finance, Tatiana Golikova, Minister of Health and Social Development, and many others. There are only 150,000 people of Jewish nationality in Russia. That is 0.1% of the population, and they are almost 100% in power. That is, the indigenous people are practically not represented in power. Is this normal in a system of power towards the indigenous people of Russia is clearly shown by their statements. Yuri Gusakov of United Russia Party. The country is inhabited by a bestial rebel who simply cannot be given the opportunity to freely choose. This rebel should moo in a stall and not break with dirty hoofs into my cozy air-conditioned office. Lyudmila Narusova. There is no one worse than a Russian in the world. Even Tajiks are more freedom-loving people. Exterminate, all without exception, less people, more oxygen. The Russian people are interfering with you. They must be eliminated. It is now becoming clear that Chabad is behind the US president who supplies weapons to Ukraine. Chabad is also behind President Zelensky and Putin. Chabad leaders, frankly speaking about their plans to pit the two fraternal peoples, force them to destroy each other and take them off their indigenous territories for the new Israel. The special operation spoken out against the special operation. Right after the special operation was launched, Beryl Lazar, chief rabbi of Russia, met in Israel Shlomo Wilhelm, chief rabbi of Zhytomyr and Western Ukraine. They obviously have no contradictions and disputes between them, but they make fraternal peoples quarrel, make the two armies kill each other. The Jewish symbol, the menorah, is already regularly lit on Revolution Square in Moscow. At the end of 2021, the menorah was installed on Independence Square in Kiev. The golden 700-kilogram menorah, cast in Israel from gold on the initiative and at the expense of Vadim Rabinovich, a resident of Ukraine, is a harbinger of the third temple to be built by the Jews. Such a temple apparently has already been built in Ukraine, in the Dnieper, right? Chabad members call Dnieper the Jewish capital of Ukraine. The largest menorah center in Europe was built there. $80 million for its construction were allocated by Gennady Bogolyubov and Igor Kolomoisky. Chabad members no longer wait for the Messiah's coming in Israel, but are building their Israel on Ukrainian soil. A very important point, the appeal of Moshe to the inhabitants of the entire world should come not from the roof of the Jerusalem temple, but from the roof of the central synagogue in exile. The importance of Ukraine and Russia for Chabad is confirmed by the following fact. These countries have the most Chabad envoys, 202 and 177 respectively. There are not so many in any country in the world. Apparently, they know that scientists predict the strongest climate changes on our planet, after which practically only Russian area will remain habitable. Real Satanism is atrocious in the special operation. Blood flows like a river. They cut throats of prisoners and film their death rattles laughingly, hilt knife in the eye socket of unarmed people and twist it with pleasure. The military are subjected to brutal tortures and castrated. Israeli television showed a report on how a group of Israeli mercenaries from so-called International Legion of Ukraine is fighting in Kharkov. The gang originally gathered in the Dnieper. They were sheltered by Shmuel Kamenetsky, Chabad member, the chief rabbi of the city. I would like to thank Rabbi Shmuel Kamenetsky for the provide apartments, for a roof over our head, for a delicious lunch and dinner, and then headed to the east of the country, where the Israelis are involved in the fighting and serve as military instructors. All members of the group, former IDF soldiers, arrived in Ukraine to kill Russians. Recall the above excerpt from the conversation of Rabbi Levin, who referred to the seventh Lubavitcher Rebbe. When people tease, that is, fight each other, when there is a general panic, wait for Moshe and all the blessings for the Jewish people. In fact, this is a repetition of the rabbis quote from the booklet The Era of Measure, which I have already quoted. The era of measure. We must be ready for the coming of measure. In these days, when all the kingdoms of the world are rebelling against each other, we must know and believe that the war between the kingdoms of the peoples of the world will not affect, God forbid, the Jews. On the contrary, all the events taking place will only benefit the Jewish people. I propose to read the same quote in Hebrew from right to left, and you will see that the harm to the Jewish people is when there is peace between nations. That's when harm comes, trouble comes for the Jewish people. They are already openly declaring that they are building a new Israel in Ukraine, and they do it together with the Russian oligarchy, whose special services shoot independent militia commanders here, and we are all at war with each other. The military conflict itself is a part of Chabad's fascist plan to destroy the world, called the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. The whole world knows this prophecy from the revelation of John the Theologian. The Four Horsemen were published on the Economist cover, which is known for its predictions of world events and is considered the mouthpiece of the Jewish Rothschild clan. We have already seen the first horseman, pestilence. That was a global pandemic and vaccination which has already led to numerous deaths. We can see the second horseman, a military conflict, which has actually become the Third World War. Indeed, 50 countries have been involved in it. It threatens to end with the use of nuclear weapons. All the leading politicians of the world won.
И мы как мученики попадем в рай.
And this is the principle of Chabad, to warn about their plans in order to relieve themselves of responsibility. If people remain silent and do not object, they thus express their consent to become victims of Chabad. This is the rule. And the Satanists themselves are doing everything to instill fear and horror in people with the help of the media, laws, and the law enforcing system. That is, they close our mouths with a gag. And this is the main condition for sacrificing a person, its silence. Here is how, according to Chabad teaching, the end times and the coming of Messiah are described.
Есть святой, будь он благословен. Они, народы мира, будут стерты с лица земли и уничтожены, и смерть их будет при замкнутом рте, как смерть животного, умирающего без голоса.
Today we can see the masses of people being silent and afraid to say a word in their defense. What if they are punished? They are silent even if something terrible happens to their loved ones, their children. It amazes me when one faces the danger to be left without his loved one, dear one, but does not want to do anything. It's so shameful. In my worldview, it is unworthy of human. How are you going to live after that? Well, yes, you might be scared. Yes, you can say something wrong. You can make a mistake, but at least you will try. It is easier to lie down. Oh, I have high blood pressure. My heart hurts. I feel generally bad. Tell me where to send the piece of paper. Everyone wants to send a magic piece of paper somewhere. The last horsemen are at the ready too, honor and death. Experts are already beginning to prepare public opinion for this. Many are facing a real famine due to the imposition of sanctions against Russia. Africa and the Middle East will be hit the hardest. That is, they say that there will be famine and you will freeze because, according to their internal reports, there may be famine in Russia and Russia will freeze. Please note, there is Putin's portrait behind the horseman of the apocalypse. Pinocchio with a long nose as a symbol of lies. He is behind Putin. Putin seems to hide a big deceit, contributing to the realization of the Four Horsemen plans. Vaccination, pandemic, famine, military conflict, and the use of nuclear weapons, all those will lead to billions of deaths, that is, to the destruction of the world. It is obvious those are their plans. We were warned about them aloud, and we have no right to wait until they are implemented. We have the right to live and to protect our future, our children. Nobody took it from us. Remember, silence is the sign of consent. This is the principle of all esoteric systems. If we all resist these plans in an organized manner, it will be much more difficult to kill us. As a matter of fact, we have another version of future. The Fatima prophecy is known. It foretold that the peoples of Ukraine and Russia will be able to emerge from today's terrible test as winners. Malachi Martin, a Jesuit priest who served as a secretary to the cardinal in the Vatican, wrote the book The Last Prophet. It says,
чего стремятся всеми силами избежать, а именно торжество воссоединения Украины и России. Это не поглощение Украины и России, не отчуждение братских народов, а преодоление людьми, простыми людьми, русскими и украинцами, враждебности, которую насаждают, пользуясь принципом разделения.
The Yid yoke in Rus was predicted by the monk Abel. There was a revelation to me about 3 fierce yokes, the Tatar, the Polish, and the future one, the Yid one. The Scorpion Yid will scourge the Russian land. Yet liberation from Yid yoke was also predicted. It will return to the Russian origins of life. Its mind will learn from the bloody misfortune. The great fate is destined for Russia. Some prophecies foretell the revival of the world to begin from Russia. It is Russia that will lead the revived civilization of the earth, and Siberia will become the center of this revival of the whole world. Through Russia, the hope of a lasting and just peace will come to the rest of the world. We have every opportunity to defeat Satan, who is destroying the world. After all, there is a power in the world before which Satan is powerless. This is the energy of our star, the sun. But we have not noticed it yet and do not know how to use it. Today, scientists have come to the conclusion that the sun gives birth to the planets of the solar system. Modern science is unable to intelligibly answer what the stars are made of, while ancient legends indicate that any star, including our native sun, in its depths generates the matter from which planets are subsequently formed, and that any star system is generated by the star itself. The sun can give birth to its own kind, or planets. Almost all the planets of the solar system were born by our sun. Modern scientists, astronomers, physicists have come to the conclusion that the sun has a real consciousness and the highest. It exists in its pure form, without a physical body, only in an energy form, like plasma balls. This is the plasma state of consciousness, which is an order of magnitude higher than ours, the human one, and therefore the sun is indeed the higher mind. Plasmoids are some kind of grandiose field forms of the mind that spread on the sun's surface. Tsiolkovsky also expressed a hypothesis about life existing on the sun in a plasma, higher form. The spiritual light of the sun absorbs the flaws of many spiritual teachings, and to this day, at different levels, many spiritual seers, prophets, and teachers of mankind are present on the sun, Jesus and others. That is, the sun is the creator and God for mankind, the source of life, and it has a higher consciousness. Just imagine, the sun is our cosmic parent who can hear and helps us. When like-minded people turn to the sun, their strength increases tenfold, and their collective thought reaches the sun, and the sun hears people. In the history of Japan, there is a case when, after the Second World War, the country was under the threat of complete annihilation by the US military squadron. The Japanese army did not have the strength to repel a military attack, and then the ministers of Japan appealed to all residents with a call to hold a nationwide mass prayer to the sun goddess Amaterasu. The Japanese put all their spiritual strength in simultaneous prayer, and such a typhoon rose in the ocean that almost the entire American squadron was destroyed, and the remnants turned home. Its effect, Amaterasu responded to a request for protection. The sun is our parent, and this is not a metaphor, not an allegory. This is a real fact. However, this has been taken out of our consciousness because it gives tremendous power. If we take it, then it will be impossible to make us victims. Russia once occupied almost all the continents of the planet. Many facts speak about that. In Neolith, most of the people still spoke Russian, but other languages and other cultures were already emerging. If we take the Paleolithic, the ancient Stone Age, and it is huge, it is about 3 million years, and the Upper Paleolithic ended only 10,000 years ago. If you subtract 10,000 years from 3 million, it would be imperceptible. So whole 3 million years the culture was in Russian. It was the culture of whole mankind. Each piece of land was called Rus.
Каждый участок земли назывался Русью.
The famous St. Petersburg linguist, Doctor of Philology Alexander Dragunkin says that Russian is the parent language. He professionally substantiated the fact that the ancestral home of English, German, Swedish, Latin, French, Spanish, ancient Greek, Polish, Lithuanian and all other European and many Asian, including Persian and even Sanskrit languages, is ancient Rus. Georgy Sidorov is a psychologist and alternative historian who has worked in the north of the European part of Russia and Siberia for more than 20 years, researching the ancient culture of the Slavs and Aryans. He came to the conclusion that the expanses of Siberia were the cradle of the white race on Earth. In ancient times, this vast land, the entire north of Asia, was inhabited by Caucasians. By the way, this is proved by modern history. Indeed, the Caucasian race flowed into Europe, into Iran, and into India from here. And all this is the legacy of the ancient great civilization, which was located far to the north. Obviously, the climate was different then, it was possible to be there. The mainland, which is still well shown on some maps. Researcher Grigory Gorchakov writes in his book World Understanding of the Fiery Age. The Rusichy traced their lineage from the Yarila sun itself. The Sanskrit root ar, yar, contains an indication of the light, hence the Aryans, bright, noble. By the way, the very name Russian from Rus, bright, sacred, enlightened. We know that darkness is destroyed by light, and the most important light for earthlings is the light of the sun. Archaeological finds prove that earlier monotheism was widespread throughout the earth, the worship of Mithra, the single sun. There was a single cult revered in every corner of our planet. This is Mithraism. Temples of Mithra, Mithraeums, have been found in England, Germany, Spain, Rome, India and Russia. The similarity between Christianity and Mithraism gives reason to think that Christianity, introduced by fire and sword, took many feasts and parables precisely from Mithraism. The canonical events from the life of Jesus, the virgin birth, the birth with a sign in the sky, the Magi, the adoration of the Magi, and the ascension to heaven at the end of life are simply copied from the story of Mithra. If you pronounce the word Mitra according to the rules for reading English letters, you get Maitreya, and Maitreya is known and honored by the whole East. Golden statues were erected to him. After all, he is the sun god. He is known to the world under different names. In India, he is called Kalki Avatar. In China, Mila. In Japan, Miroku. In Lemist mythology, Maidar. But more often than others, the name Maitreya sounds. These are the names of the same sun. Our ancestors knew his power, and we forgot. Although now scientists are beginning to understand how profound is the role of the sun for our planet and for us. Now the whole East is waiting for the coming of Mitra, Maitreya, and the establishment of the Golden Age on Earth. As a sign of the approaching arrival of Maitreya, living ethics was given to humanity. And this is not some Indian or Buddhist god alien to us, but ours, primordial, ancient Russian. It's just that the Vedas were preserved in the East, which was scorched by fire and sword of the violent Christianization of Rus, comparable to the fascists in cruelty. The revelation of John the Evangelist also indicates the option of saving the world. A woman will save it. A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. Nostradamus wrote that the wife clothed in the sun sees that, and where others do not see. Her eyes and body are made of fire. In her hands is the sacred meaning. Late and in great despair, the world will be given to her. The rulers and the clergy are to blame for this. The time represented by the general transition will be judged by the great Jupiter. Human blood is spilled under the sky. Death will unite the great people too late. Late and long-awaited relief comes. For the great people who died, a rebirth. Help will come, but not immediately. She will free the great nation from oppression. Indian Sufi Hazrat Inayat Khan. I can see clearly, like God's day, that the hour is approaching when the woman will come, who will lead humanity to the highest evolution. Look for faith in the sun. The woman is foretold, and she is already here. She is hidden by the forces that lead humanity to death, and we need, on the contrary, to overcome the veil of secrecy, vacuum, and understand who will be the savior, the leader who will organize the people to fight for their lives. And it is very important for all of us to act actively and not to be afraid and not to be silent. After all, the main thing for the extermination of mankind is to shut the mouths of citizens so that we silently agree to our fate as victims. In the old days, they said that all diseases and trials are given to us because of our sins. It was said about our times, love will grow cold in people. It was said about false teachers like this, judge them by their deeds. The people of our civilization openly entered into sin. There is one main indication in the ancient scriptures: even the most hardened sinner can be saved if he begins to speak only the truth. Such is the power of this virtue. If there are forces that use lies to enslave us, then there must be forces that oppose them with the truth. That is why it is so important to overcome the fear of hidden Satanism, to remove the seal of silence from our mouths. We simply must speak the saving truth everywhere, to defend our civil and human rights. After the coup, Russia has been controlled from abroad. It is like a hidden colony. And all the colonies stopped being colonies when national liberation movement appeared, headed by the leader of the people. Our salvation is only in uniting with each other and with real people's leaders, human rights activists. Look for them. They are there. They are prosecuted and pressed by the anti-popular system of power. But it means that we, the people, really need them. A gag in our mouth is our death. The exposure of the world's evil, hidden under the mask of Chabad, is life. Tell the truth to everyone. That way we can quickly notify each other and we can get organized. When world evil comes, You can't hide from it. You can either defeat it or let it win. We have every chance to defeat it. That was foretold. We just need to start telling always only the truth, no matter what it costs us. We also need to find the wife clothed in the sun. This can be done if we all set ourselves such a goal. There is the leader. She can be found. Let us unite our thought in this quatrain.
Женщину-мать ожидает народ, ту, что поможет и жизни спасет. Образ простой россиянки узнать, нам помоги, чтоб воспряли опять.
Turn to the sun, our cosmic parent, which has always given our ancestors the strength to defeat their enemies. Prayers to the sun are already spreading among the people and already bearing fruit.